Hello, hello, hello. I am back. Wasn't planning to do this live. Prayerfully, I won't be on here long. I know a lot of you guys are laughing at me when I say I won't be on here long, and then I end up doing 2 or 3 hours. Will not be the case tonight. I'm confident on that. Nevertheless, I do expect it to be about an hour in length. So I'm going to allow you guys to come in. I pray that you are ready. This is something that the Lord laid on my heart. If I'm coming out just randomly like this, is typically because God is dealing with me or what have you. So I'm upstairs and I'm trying to I was upstairs, downstairs now, but I was upstairs and I was trying to get some work in. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. And whenever I'm in that space, I get frustrated because I'm trying to focus and my attention span sometimes I can be working on one thing, but God will just redirect my attention span back over to something else. And then when that happens, I find myself kind of going from window to window to window or what have you. And it gets frustrating. And then I'm just like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? I have to stop, slow my brain down and be like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? So what ended up happening was I started watching a video of mine. And I've been watching this video for the last 2 days. I posted up the link as you can see before you guys came in. It's a music video that I shot. Thank you, Sister Jamie. God bless you. It's a music video that I shot back in 2017. The music video, many of you may not realize, is directly correlated, or it was designed to pair up with a book I was releasing, which is Wiser Still 3. I think it's Wiser Still. I think it's a third edition of Wiser Still. As a matter of fact, I think it's supposed to be 3 books to that. I never released the third one. I have to release the third one. Um, I think that one is halfway done, probably nearly done. I just never released it. That just reminded me I really need to pull that book back up. And just word to the wise. A lot of times when the assignments that God gives you, there are steps, and steps can hold you behind. So you have to finish this step to get to the next step. And then to get to the next step, you have to finish this. So I'm thinking to myself in this moment, how much has that held me back? Even though I've released content and I've done quite a bit, how much is that one step held me back? So whatever it is that God has told you to do, make sure that you do it. This is a reminder. If He told you to write a book, start a business, release an invention, you got to stop obeying fear and learn to obey God. But for the last couple of days, that's where my attention has been. A matter of fact, I won't even say the last couple of days, about 3 or 4 days, I thought about that video. Now, yesterday, I actually pulled it up. Yesterday, I actually pulled it up and I watched it all over again. Then I watched half of it all over again. And today, I watched it a couple of times. Again, it's a music video. And the clips in there, you see like 5 different characters. I think it's like 4 or 5 different characters. You see like 4 or 5 different stories unfolding, and all of those stories are actually written out in Wiser Still 3. If you've never gotten that book, if you've never gotten the Wiser Still series, it will absolutely bless the entirety of your life. The Wiser Still series is a compilation of fictional stories, and then I give revelation at the bottom. So I tell a fictional story. Now, let me say this before I get into the message. When it comes to the Wiser Still, the video that I shot, again, make sure that you go and watch that video. I posted the link up at the absolute top. Make sure you watch that video in His presence, or in your presence. That's a song that I wrote. I hired somebody to sing it because I don't have that grace. Um, I hired somebody to sing it, and then I had a music video created. I created a music video. I wrote the script out for the music video, hired the videographer. We shot it out. I think it was either Piedmont or Centennial Park. I don't know which one of those parks it was, but we shot it. Amazing video. A lot of people have watched it. It's going to make you cry. If you happen to be prophetic, you're probably going to cry watching that video. It will warm your heart. And there were so many God moments in that video. As I'm watching the video, God highlights to me a lot of times so many moments where you can sense the presence of God so strongly. One is there's this moment in the video where the guy who is depicting Jesus. Now, don't nobody come from my neck, because I know some of you call yourself woke and you be like, well, the Bible said Jesus looked like this. You're actually displaying this character. Listen, I put a character up that people mostly recognize. I'm not one of those people who really care about what Jesus looked like. I care about the fact that he came on this earth, and I'm glad about that. So I'm not led by my flesh, so I'm not chasing after flesh. Him being any color does not give me any special privileges. His word is still not going to return void, and so that it is what it is. So in there's this one particular moment where, and this is not planned, this is just straight up God moving in the video. There's this one particular moment. Every time I watch the video, I capture that moment. It's very subtle. You have to look for it. You don't have to look strong. And it's when the man who's depicting Jesus, he's opening the ring case for the runner, and that's this girl who just runs from everything. She's been traumatized by her mother, so she's a runner. Thank you, my journey. God bless you. And so it depicts different personalities in the video. You find her in the video being abused by her mother. Her mother's being really abusive to her. So I guess that's a trigger warning. I guess you have to say that today. But there's a part where she's running, and she runs into Jesus, or the man who was playing Jesus. And he opens the ring box, to her. And what that signifies in there is he's saying, hey, get into a relationship with me. Let me marry you. I'll heal your pain. I'll heal all of that. But she doesn't want the commitment. She doesn't want the responsibility. She wants the benefits, which is common for a lot of Christians. She wants the benefits of it, but she doesn't want the responsibility. She doesn't want the accountability. So when he opens the ring box, she looks at it, she shakes her head no, and runs away. But the part in there that is so beautiful to me, right at that moment when he opens the ring box, the ring sparkles. And obviously that's not, it's the sun hit the ring, it sparkles, and the wind blows his hair. You can call it coincidence if you want to, but it was the way that happened. And every time I watch that video, I'm like, Holy Spirit was definitely moving. And I can tell you, when we shot that video, that was one of the best days. I had so much fun shooting that video. It was so exciting. It was so fun. I often relive it in my head, and I'm like, I gotta do that again, or what have you. And so make sure you watch the video. Also in the video, and I'm just giving you guys small talk as you come in. Also in the video, if you know my story, you should be able to depict, or you should be able to, some parts of my story are in that video. Some of the characters are depicting parts of my story. So you should be able to, if you've been watching me for a while, you'd be like, I remember Sister Tiffany telling a story like that. I'll give you a hint with one of them, where these mean girls, they're at the park. Now, we weren't supposed to shoot that scene at the park. The video, a lot of the scenes were not the way that they were supposed to be, but I guess they were the way God wanted them to be. I was supposed to rent out a club or a party bus for that particular scene. They were supposed to be at a club, but all of that didn't fall through. We didn't have time for the majority of the stuff because I only cut out one day for shooting. And I didn't realize, because it was the first video that I shot, that I needed, honestly, at least 3 days to shoot the entirety of that. I needed at least 3 days to shoot the entirety. So we combobulated that. We squeezed that up into one day. And so we had to end up shooting that particular scene at the park. We had to improvise. And one of the girls in the scene, she's drunk, or what have you, and her friends are just frustrated. And they're not really her friends. They decide to leave her on a park. They have a discussion about what to do with her because she's getting on their nerves. She's just running around. She's flirting with this guy or what have you. But they decide to leave her on a park bench. That is actually a snippet of my story. If you know me, if you know my story, you know I have a testimony about when I was in the world, when my so-called friends decided to give me the keys to my car. They had a conversation about what to do with me. They were really frustrated with me because I had got drunk. I had drank gin or what have you. And that was the first time I ever drank gin. And I was 19 years, no, I don't even know if I was 19. I was 20 years old. I was 20. How I know I was 20 is because they decided, because I cut them off. I was so mad at them, I wanted to fight them. But I eventually forgave them. And a few months later, my birthday came, and I remember they came together to decide how they were going to do my birthday. And they came together to decide, like, hey, we can't let her drink. And so from that point on, every time, if I came to the club with them, or if I came to the club with, if they saw me in the club, they would always walk up to people, be like, she drunk, don't let her drive. She drunk. If I got drunk, they would say she drunk. Thank you, Brother Andre. God bless you. She drunk, don't let her drive. So this particular scene, and I know that I'm talking about the prophetic. I promise I'll get into the message. But this particular story was one of the most profound stories in my life. It's the moment that it was one of the turning points that started taking me towards salvation, that started pulling me towards God. And I'm gonna try not to tell the story in its entirety, but basically, in short, I was hanging out with one of the girls was considered my friend. Oh, have you? I consider her my friend. We hung out. Oh, what have you? But she had her own group of friends. She had we were cool. What have you? We all worked together. But a few of them I was really cool with. We just didn't hang out, but we were really cool. We would stand around at job and laugh and what have you. But she had this one girl that she hung with real strong. The girl did not like me. She did not like me. She didn't even like my edges. She didn't like anything about me. I couldn't figure out what I had done to this girl. But that particular friend, I knew what was happening. That particular friend, none of her friends liked me. She would always, and that was something that she would do. She had a thing where she just didn't like her friends being friends. She wanted to have all these different pockets of friendships all around, but she would talk bad because she would talk bad about this girl to me, but she would talk bad about me to that girl. But this girl, she just did not like me. And I'll call the girl, um, I call her, I was about to say my auntie's name, but I'm like, no. Okay, I see this up here. I'll call her Kenisha. I see No, I'll call her Cantia because that's what I see up here. Cantia. I'll call her Cantia. Cantia hated my guts. Thank you, Smile Brown, and God bless you. God bless you. Cantia hated my guts. She hated my guts. She could not. When she passed by me at the job, she couldn't even. Some people would try to be nice to you. Cantia would not be nice to me. She would just. She couldn't even speak to me. She just hated me so much. And she ended. They came up to me one day, the girls I was cool with, not the girl that I was close to, but the girls I was cool with. They came up to me and they were like, hey, are you coming out tonight? Are you coming out tonight? Because they supposed to be having some type of event. And I was like, no. Or what have you? She said, you haven't been invited. And my friend will call her. And if I use your name, please forgive me. I promise I'm not coming for you. But we'll call her Tasha. So they were like, Tasha didn't invite you. I was like, nah. And they were like, yeah, you got to come out with us. Because I had been out with them a few times before. Mind you, I wasn't 21 years of age. So they always had to use fake ID. They were older than me. They always had to help me to get in or what have you by using fake ID. I found that at the club, they don't check your ID because I am not 6 foot tall. I would give them any type of IDs of light skinned women. They would just look at me and be like, here. Thank you, Sister April. God bless you, sis. So get into they trying to invite me out. And I'm telling them no. And when they tell me that it's going to be at Cantia's place, I said, that girl hates me. No. They said, no, we're going to meet up at Cantia's place. Then we're going to the club. I said, and they said, Tiffany, she's just jealous of you. She's just jealous of you. Or what have you. But come on, it ain't going to be the same without you. So I let them talk me into going. And I show up, and being the youngest one, I reasoned within my heart that Cantia didn't like me because I was so young, because that was one of her complaints, was that they can go to jail and all this other stuff. So I'm trying to prove myself to be, a responsible adult. I proved otherwise at night. I'm trying to prove myself to be a responsible adult or what have you, or to be like the girls, to be like everybody else. Prophetic people, I'm not a prophet, let me say this, but prophetic people usually can't handle their alcohol. You can become alcoholics. A lot of alcoholics are prophetic people. Prophetic people are not well with alcohol. And so yeah, I took gin, and we went to Sonic. They poured it into the pink lemonade or what have you, to kind of soften up. So I drank it, and I remember the first drink, it burned like fire going down I was like, who in the world drinks this stuff? But you know what? I don't want them talking about me. I don't want her saying, see, she a baby, she can't handle. So what I did was what I did whenever I didn't like an alcoholic drink. I topped it down. I'm drinking it fast. So and mind you, they bought a big giant thing of pink lemonade. We didn't buy. I drink a lot of I drank a lot of gin that night. And then finally ran out of pink lemonade. And I was like, no, I'm gonna take it straight. So I poured some in a cup. And guess what? A couple of times. Felt like I was on fire. Ended up, I don't even remember walking out of their door. The only thing I remember heading out the door, I remember somebody saying, your strap is falling down. That's the last memory I had. That's the last memory I have. They said your strap was falling down. I remember what I was wearing. I had this brand new body dress. I was super duper skinny back then, and the body dress had a part cut out at the navel that was like a diamond shape. That's what I remember I was wearing. So we get to the club. Word is, I was getting on the tables, acting up. They had to keep pulling me down off the tables. They had to keep. I tried to fight people. It was a whole hot mess. They got frustrated with me, took me back to Cantia's place. And because they wanted to continue on clubbing that night or what have you, they got tired of babysitting me. They took me back to Cantia's place and they handed me the keys to my car. They had an argument about what to do with me. And so that's that scene in the video. They had an argument about what to do with me because I was passed out drunk. And whenever I did open my eyes, I was doing something crazy. So they said to Cantia, she's too drunk to drive. And mind you, my friend Tasha didn't know how to drive. I was still mad at her because she could have called my mother. She could have did something, but she said what happened was they had a conversation. Cantia again hated my guts. And we at Cantia's house. So they say to Cantia, hey, let's just leave her on your couch until, we are done clubbing and we'll come back or what have you. And she says, no, because my man gonna come home high and she laid out on the couch drunk and don't tell her what they gonna do in my house, And so, yeah, they decide they didn't know what else to do with me but to give me the keys to my car. So they give me the keys to my car. They take me out to my car. They probably put me behind the wheel. I don't know. They give me the keys to my car. And that's that. I don't remember. I'm blacked out drunk and driving. I'm just driving. And I drove. My house was outside of city limits. You had to go down this really dark highway for a long ways to get to my house. I was outside of city limits. So I was driving drunk. I ended up having a blowout. The devil was trying to take a sister all the way out that night. He had plotted and planned on me. He had his appetite. He just knew. But you know what? I thank God because he had my angels on assignment. I could truly say that. But I was driving down the road and I was drunk and I had a blowout or something like this. And this is what I found out the next day. What I do remember, the next memory I have after that is waking up in a car. This is the next memory I have, is waking up in an SUV trying to figure out how I got there. That's the next memory I have, is I wake up, I'm in this white SUV parked in front of this house. It was a trailer, but it looked like a house. It was one of those fancy trailers or what have you. And it was a community of them. And I just remember I sat there and I was I thought it was my ex's. Because I had an ex, I had just broke it off with him and he had the same type of truck. So I thought maybe he had found me. I woke up the next day, I'm asleep on the passenger side like this. And I'm trying to figure out, now I'm thinking, okay, thank you, Michaela. God bless you. I'm trying to figure out how I got there. Oh, sis, I'm so sorry. I gotta get to that. I'm sorry. I read names first, and I'm so sorry. But I just thought about that after when I said your name. I was like, wait, hold on, let me look at this again. I apologize, but God bless you, sis. But I'm trying to figure out how I got there. So I'm assuming that he just went in the house and he'll be back out for me or what have you. So I just sit there and kind of wait for him for about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I get restless. And I started, thinking about I'm about to go up to this house. I'm ready to go. And I look in my lap and I see my keys. How my keys get in my lap? Why am I in this truck? And when I see my keys, that prompted me to look behind. And when I looked behind, I saw my car in the driveway parked. The driveway was wide enough to get 2 cars. And so it was parked not directly behind the white truck, but behind another car. So I get out of the truck, I grab my keys, I get out of the truck, I realize I'm in the neighborhood of my house. When I say God is amazingly good, I realize I'm in the neighborhood of my mom's house or what have you. So I get out of the truck, and that's when I realized I was sloppy drunk because I could not walk. I could barely walk. I had to lean on the truck. I was holding myself up. Got to the edge of the truck trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to my car because it's kind of parked a little bit because it's another car. So I stumble my way over there, get in my car, and I'm conscious and cognizant, but I was messed up. So I get in my car, I start backing out. First I think the driveway is bumpy, but it's not. But then I get on the road and I begin to drive. My apartment where we live was literally about 1 minute away. That's the goodness of God, because most people didn't live out that way. So it was about 1 minute away. I get in my car and I start driving, and my car is doom, doom, doom. So I stop my car, and I'm talking about I'm just drunk. I stop my car. I get out the car, leaning, and I look at the wheel. The driver's side wheel was literally, it was shredded to pieces. The rim was bent, and the wheel, the it didn't even look like a wheel anymore. It was shredded. I get back in my car because I'm just 1 minute away. So I decided to just try to make it on home. So I make it home. When I get in the house, I can genuinely say, and I've said this before, that was a moment when I realized that my mom did care about me, because me and my mom, a lot of times my mom was just really hard on me. What have you. So when I came in, I remember, I was too drunk to care about getting beat down or anything like that. I just came, and I could barely walk. I could barely get up to the house. So when I was trying to open the door, my mom opened the door. I nearly fell in, and my mom was holding me up. She's like, "Tiffany, what? Where have you been? Where have you been?" And she's screaming or what have you. And I could tell she's worried. She had been worried sick. Where have you been? Where have you been? And I kept saying, "I don't know." And she got me somehow. I get into the hallway, and the hallway was very narrow, so I had to use the hallway to hold myself up. I have to use a hallway to hold myself up, and I go get into bed. And that day, my mom treated me like a princess. That day, my mom went in the kitchen, cooked me some steak, and neither one of us, because my mom was in the drink, and neither one of us knew anything about alcohol. I learned you do not drink cold water after having alcohol. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that. So yeah, my mom cooked me a steak. She cooked me steak and rice, I think it was, and she bought me some cold water, cold tea or something. I know it was cold. And I remember the entirety of that day, I felt like death was at my door because I was vomiting my soul out. I spent the entire day vomiting my soul out. I think my mom even took off work that day to make sure she could be at home to take care of me because I was just vomiting. But I say God was truly with me that night because of the events. But the event when I had the blowout, it wasn't until the next day that this guy knocked on my door, and he said, "Hey," and he went to school with me. He was like, "Hey, what happened to you?" He's like, "What happened to you?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, he saw me when I had the blowout. I was on a highway. He would happen to be at that gas station. Man, I tell you, Satan was trying to get me that night. He happened to be at the gas station, and he saw my car. He said all they heard was screeching tires, and he said people were looking. He said my car just was, I guess, fishtailing and stuff, and it came to rest on the shoulder. And he said I pulled in. I pulled it off the shoulder. I pulled into the gas station. He said when I pulled into the gas station, he said I had opened the driver's door, and I guess I was trying to look out, and he was like, "Tiffany." He said, "Tiffany, that you? Tiffany, are you okay?" He said I looked at him, and I tried to pull off. I pulled off. And he was like, "What happened, man? Why you pull off like that?" And I was like, "Listen, I don't even remember that night." Oh, what have you. And that guy was eventually arrested a couple of years later for going into a lawyer's office with a gun, kidnapping the secretary, which was somebody he didn't know, kidnapping the secretary, he took her to a field, attempted to rape her. She got out, she ran, he shot her. He only shot her in the leg, so she lived, or what have you. So I say that God was with me that night, because if that joke had, because he had always been, I mean, he was trying to sleep with everybody. That boy was always trying to get at me. Always. Thank you, Sister Janice. God bless you, sis. God bless you. He was always trying to get at me. Um, I sat back there. The only memory I have was being in a white pickup truck. I remember being in a, and it could be a false memory. It could be a false memory, but this is the memory I have. The memory I have was being in not a pickup truck, but in the SUV. I don't even know what I was in. I just have a memory of being in a car with a white family and them asking me where did I live. That's the memory I have. They kept asking me, where do you live? And I said, I don't know. I just remember saying, I don't know. That was it. And that's the truck I woke up in. That's the truck I woke up in. Now, was I sexually assaulted that night? No, no. If I was, I would have known. Because, yeah, I knew I wasn't sexually assaulted that night. I could have been sexually assaulted. If I had been sexually assaulted, I don't know anything about it. And I'm quite sure I knew my body. But I was so mad at those friends. I've told this story before. I was so mad at those girls. I was mad to the point where I literally wanted to hurt them. And whenever they came up to me, they were trying to be apologetic. I wasn't too mad at the ones that invited me. I was mad at them. I was I was beyond angry with Tasha because she was supposed to be my friend. I was beyond angry with her because I couldn't believe that she had done that. Thank you, Sister Bab. God bless you, sis. I couldn't believe, and like I expect that from Cantia. I expect that from Cantia because she didn't like me. But for you to sit there, I was walking around the job just angry. People walking up to me, the news had got around the job, people walking up to me, and I was spewing that bitterness. I was so angry. And this lady, she had the sweetest spirit. She came walking up to me. She was one of those people that had a really innocent spirit. She walked up to me and she said, Tiffany, what happened? I heard. And I did with her like I did with everybody else. I'm telling everybody what these jokers did to me because I'm mad. How could they do that to me? I'm mad because they didn't even care if I died. Like, for real. I couldn't believe that. Like, what did I do to deserve that? And while she was talking to me, this lady, she had the sweetest spirit. And she listened to me. She watched me go off, and I'm just mad. And I'm using the B word, and she just looked at me and she said, your friends weren't looking out for you, but God was. And when she said that, I started crying. Thank you, Brother Andre. God bless you. When she said that, because I was just standing, we were right there in front of the checkouts. I had come up to the checkouts for whatever reason because I worked in the lingerie department. So I'm just standing there, I'm going off, and I'm like, them bees, and you know what? And they better not come in my face. I'm just going off. I'm loud. I don't care if I get fired. I'm angry. And she just stood there listening to me. She said, and I remember that face. She said, your friends weren't looking out for you, but God was. And when she said that, she pierced my soul. When she said that, she pierced my soul. She literally pierced my soul with her words, and I just began to weep. I could not stop crying because I had been so angry with them, but I had not considered the fact that God had protected me that night. And when I go back and I look at that story, I see so many events. Because I remember she asked me a series of questions before she said that. She said, were you hurt? Were you sexually assaulted? I said, no. She said, how do you know? I said, well, I know my body. I mean, yeah, no, I feel normal. And, unless somebody was doing some weird stuff, I don't think I was. And she said, your friends weren't looking out for you, but God was. God was. So I say that to say that, and I don't know why I shared that story, but God was with me. God was with me that night. God has been with me over the course of my life, and this is why, and I love Him so much. And that was one of the events that started taking me towards salvation. That was one of the events. I'm just seeing the love of God in my life. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this message. I want to talk about one of the signs, and I'm going to give you actually about 5 things that prophetic people have a tendency to do. And it's going to be dealing with feelings. It's going to be dealing with feelings because one of the things that I've learned is that prophetic people, and I've said this before, prophetic people are super sensitive because God made you sensitive to His presence. He designed you to be, you are wired to be super sensitive so that you can sense the presence of God. Prophetic people are oftentimes creatives. They are oftentimes creatives. And so it doesn't mean that you're a prophet, but you're a prophetic. And prophetic people tend to have certain issues. And for the most part, most prophetic people, when you're completely unaware of who you are, you will struggle with issues that you don't have to struggle with. Because once you know who you are and you know how you're wired, then you know how to manage your wiring. I want you to hear that again. Once you know who you are and how you're wired, you learn to manage that wiring. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is King David. King David, the Bible does not mention him being a prophet, but he was prophetic. King David, as a matter of fact, kings in the biblical days were more of the equivalent of apostles. They had apostolic graces. They were builders. They were confronters of systems, destroyers of systems, or what have you. But King David was prophetic. Now, one of the things that you will notice about King David's wiring is that King David had some issues. King David was a psalmist. Prophetic people are typically, well, not all of them, but some of them are psalmists or what have you. Thank you, Sister Shawana. God bless you, sis. He was a psalmist, but we also know, and this is one of the pointers, that King David wrestled with some stuff, right? King David wrestled with some stuff. And prophetic people have a tendency to wrestle with some of these issues. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it so I don't get ahead of myself. Number one, prophetic people, again, I just said this, are super sensitive. You're super sensitive. Sensitivity can it can manifest itself as emotions. It can manifest itself as you cutting people off, you not having the tolerance that you need to function in life. Consequently, you invite in the spirit of sabotage. Prophetic people have a tendency to be super sensitive and emotional prophets. Whenever you're emotional, once you don't get that under control, or if you don't get that under control, then you set the stage for the spirit of sabotage to come into your life and begin to destroy everything. Prophetic people, because they are emotional, they have a tendency to be manipulative when they have not been consecrated, when they have not spent time with God, when they are not repented, they have a tendency to be manipulative. Thank you, Sister Amira. God bless you. God bless you. Amira Grace Ministry. God bless you. But they have a tendency to be manipulative, play mind games, and what have you. It's hard for you to take accountability because you're always guarding yourself. You're always protecting yourself from offense. Consequently, when a person is emotional, you may be afraid of confrontation. So you avoid confrontation like the plague. Confrontation, and I've said this before, you have to change the word. You have to change the wording. And when I look back over the course of my life, I can honestly say I've always been a confrontational person. Thank you, Sister Grace. God bless you, sis. I've always been a confrontational person. And when I say confrontational, I'm not saying that I've always been, I mean, I've had my moments. I've gone up to people and been like, listen, that the friend Tasha, we were friends for many years. And if I bought her on here, she would tell you, she would have her story to tell about me as well. And she would tell you, I had my moments where I would walk up to her and I'd be like, stay out of my face. When you see me, act like you don't see me. I don't exist to you and you don't exist to me. And I'll walk off. And I just remember she would be yelling behind me because we worked together. She'd be like, what's wrong with you now? What's wrong with you now? Because I would fluctuate. And my issue that I had was I didn't know how to navigate the fact that I knew how to be her friend, but she couldn't be mine. That was my problem. Was that every time she would do things that proved to me or showed that she wasn't my friend, I would get frustrated because I was one of those people, like most prophetic people. I thought that if you're nice to people and you do right by people, they'll do right by you, even if they're bad people, because they see that you're good, then they're going to reflect your goodness. And that's not the case. That's not true. That's not true. I felt like, if I'm your friend, if I'm doing nice things, no, whatever a person is to another human being, they will be that to you. So prophetic people are super sensitive. God made you that way so that you can sense his presence. But whenever you're not consecrating yourself, if you're not saved, or you're not spending time with God, or you're not getting the training that you need, the enemy will hijack your wiring. He will hijack your wiring. Let me make sure this isn't in my notes so I don't jump ahead of myself. Okay, he will hijack your wiring, and he causes you to fall in love easily. He causes you to fall in love easily. So consequently, you find yourself, you can feel a lot. Things are always kind of penetrating your heart. Like if a man is sitting in front of you and he says, man, I'm falling in love with you, it will pierce you. It appears you if a man is sit there. So it's easy for prophetic people in a lot of cases. Now I'm saying prophetic people who have not consecrated, giving themselves over to the Lord. I'm not talking about those of you who have consecrated. I'm not talking about those of you who are numb because you're bitter, because you're mad and you're like, girl, that ain't none of me. These men ain't no good. No, you need healing. You need healing. So prophetic people have a tendency to be super sensitive, and the enemy loves to hijack your wiring. He loves to hijack your wiring. He loves to get you into relationships with people. This is why, and I'm going to say it, I don't care. This is why it is the dumbest, silliest, craziest things when I see, a lot of times I see women arguing about the fact that women should be able to be friends with men. There is nothing wrong with a woman and a male being friends, platonic friends or what have you. But please understand that you have to understand your wiring, and you want to know a little bit about him before you try to do that, because the devil knows what you don't know. If you happen to be a prophetic person who's not, you haven't learned to guard your heart, there'll be guys that come into your life and they'll say friend, or you say friend, they say okay, but they know they're gonna get your draws. They know they're gonna get your draws because all they gotta do is keep talking to you. This is why the Bible says bad association corrupts good manners. They know they're gonna get your draws. They know if I get in your ear long enough, if I talk to you long enough, I don't care. They know they're gonna get with you because they know that you're super sensitive. And typically, guys like that, if they know that you're not attracted to them, you ready? They wait for you to go through some traumatic moments with the men that you are attracted to. Still like me? They wait for you to go through those traumatic moments with the men that you do want. After you done had a few breakups and he done been there for you. That's y'all don't be knowing. My brothers, please tell the women. Sometimes the man in the corner, the man that's in the friend zone, he's not a man in the friend zone. He's just a man waiting on you to fall down. He's waiting, right? They're opportunists. They're opportunists. He'll sit there and he'll be there for you when you call him and say, I think Michael is cheating on me. He said, man, word, man, I don't understand why you feel like that. Are you sure? No, he may not be cheating on you. Depending on the type of guy, the type of personality. One personality dude would be like, man, I don't understand how somebody cheat on somebody. You know, with the folks that always call you beautiful, they typically don't know how to say beautiful. They typically don't know how to say beautiful. They'll say, man, I don't know how somebody don't appreciate how somebody cheat on somebody as beautiful as you. Beautiful. You on the phone crying, but he talking about beautiful. It kind of wakes you up. I don't know how somebody could cheat on somebody as beautiful as you. You know, if my girl was like you, I wouldn't do that. Then you have the other one that's a little bit more slick. You know, he will try to talk you. He hides behind his he hides behind his words. So he's not as obvious. He'll say things like, "Are you sure?" I mean, because I don't want you to mess something good up if he's not, cheating. How do you know he's cheating? Then when you give him the evidence, he says, "Oh yeah, that's messed up." I mean, have you tried talking to him? Oh, what have you? But they wait for an opportunity, and once they get that opportunity, brothers, can I tell the truth? Yeah. Okay. Men like to slip into relationships with you. Even your exes. They like to slip into a relationship. Let me tell you what a slipping into a relationship looks like. I'm sorry to reveal this, guys. I love y'all. But women do it too. So they like to slip into a relationship. Even though they've been plotting it, they like plotting it all along because you beautiful. You ain't beautiful, you beautiful. They've been plotting it all along, but they like to slip into a relationship. Are you good? Are you okay? Do you need some company? I can come over there. I can keep you company if, you good? Yeah, I'm cool. No, you don't sound so good. I'm on my way. So they come over and they be like, okay, no, you sit down. I got you. They go into the kitchen, do all these nice things or what have you. Now you in there thinking to yourself, why they never gave him a chance? Look at how good of a guy he is. Thank you, Rasan. God bless you. Why he never gave him a chance? Look at how good of a man this brother is. Why he never gave him a chance? So he come up in there, he'll do all those things. Now he wants you to make a move on him. If that doesn't happen, typically he'll make a move on you. Typically, and these are typically prophetic men typically do it that way. You know, the prophetic men, they'll just kind of hey, I made you, yeah, here's some water here. drink this, calm down, calm down. They'll sit there next to you, what have you, and they'll kind of play all the games and wipe your tears away and stuff, and you looking at them. Then y'all get that eye contact and what have you, and they come in for the kiss. That's what I call slipping into a relationship. Your exes do it all the time. Your exes do it all the time. I got a friend. Her ex kept trying to do that to her. I just would laugh. He kept trying to, use the kids. I want to come around, with the kids, and she kept putting up all these barriers and borders and boundaries. And boy, bro, man was getting mad. Finally, that kid goes to the hospital one night. She calls him. She's like, this is what happened to the baby. He comes up to the hospital and she says she's worried. She's crying. He holds her in the hospital and all that. He holds her. She's, she just crying about her baby, but he's thinking, okay, finally. So people have a tendency to try to slip in a relationship with you, to slip into a relationship with you. So you got to be very mindful. So prophetic people are super sensitive. Prophetic people, this is why a lot of prophetic people end up having children out of wedlock, is because of your sensitivity, because you're easily convinced. Somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, I'm in love with you. I never knew why you didn't give me a chance and stuff like that. You go to believe in that stuff. So consequently, you find yourself with your heart broke because you're trying to figure out what happened. I thought that was my boy. That was my friend. How did it end between me and him? Just a little bit of revelation about men and women. We're dimensional, multi-dimensional creatures. Some people are great friends, but they make for horrible spouses. They make for horrible lovers. In the area of friendship, they are perfect. They maintain all of their friendships. But once you cross over into the boyfriend, girlfriend arena with them, it's over with. You just destroyed your relationship with them. I remember having a guy that was my best friend. We were cool for years. We used to crack up all the time. And he kept trying to get with me, but I wouldn't get with him because he had been a neighborhood thought. He had made his rounds or what have you. I won't say he made his rounds. He had dated a couple of girls in the neighborhood, and he had a lot of girls that were fighting over him. He was a really good looking guy, but I was like, I appreciated his friendship because we were cool. I didn't want to cross out of the friendship because I'm like, if we go out the friendship, it'll be over with. But as a friend, he would come to my house every single day, and ask me to come outside or what have you. If my mom was at home, he'd come in every single day. He'd just kick it with me. He'd be like, hey, yo, Tiffany. And he'll say something stupid, and we'd be out there crying, laughing. I remember, and this is when I was like 17, 16 years old. I remember one of the things he used to always like to do was try to hold me. And at one point I used to fight him, and another point I just got over it. And sure enough, his exes were coming for me, and it was a hot mess. But I remember that particular guy. What was I telling that story for? Yeah. We're gonna move on. Prophetic people are super sensitive. Number 2, prophetic people often wrestle with lust. Prophetic people often wrestle with lust. Prophetic people often struggle with porn and masturbation because the enemy loves to hijack your wiring. The enemy loves to hijack your wiring. He knows that you have trouble because for you, everything that you feel is heightened. Because God wired you super sensitive. So everything that you feel is oftentimes heightened. And it can lead you into strong perversion. Again, prophetic people often wrestle with lust and perversion. And one of the things that you have to do is, in order to get beyond that, you have to employ systems. You have to first understand your wiring. Most of the times, the stuff that you struggle with is a result of you not understanding how you're wired. It's a result of you not understanding that, hey, I can't watch this. And this is one of the things, this is why God tells us that we're sanctified and to consecrate ourselves from the world. It's because you have to understand, while some Christians be like, well, ain't nothing, I'm going to do this. You're wired a certain way. There are certain things you just simply cannot do. There are certain things that you just simply cannot do. Prophetic person, you have to hear me when I say this. There's certain music you can't listen to. I don't care how many people tell you I don't see nothing wrong with it. It will have you up, because prophetic people have a tendency to get caught up in their imaginations. because you're super sensitive. Basically, you don't just like to play with yourself. And I'm talking about masturbation. You like to play with your wiring. You like to play with your wiring. And so this is the reason why you get lost in your imaginations. You get lost in your imaginations and you sit there and you get lost in it and you laugh and you think about what this would be like and what it's going to be like when the man of God comes and what it's going to be like to share your first kiss and when you're going to have your babies. And this is the reason why prophetic people typically deal with high level disappointment, is because you begin to set all these grand expectations. You have all these imaginations, and through those imaginations, what you're doing is you're shopping. Imaginations are nothing but a store. That's it. You're shopping for the reality that you want. So you put all of these things up on a shelf. You take everything from the imagination. Okay, gotta have that. I gotta have the man to propose to me in a grand way. That has to happen. That, oh my goodness. I don't want no boring McDonald's drive-through proposal. I don't want nobody proposing to me I don't want to be laying next to nobody proposing to me. I don't want to be proposed to in a gas station bathroom. I don't want to be proposed to over the phone. I don't want nobody talking about we might as well get married. I want something grand. Grand. And it sets the stage for disappointment because you're super sensitive. So here it is. You bougie in your expectation. You want something big and grand and magnanimous and wonderful. But then you go after a guy who doesn't know who he is. You go after a guy who loves his money more than he loves you. So the next thing you know, we had a Jack in the Box proposal. I love it. No, it's not a bad thing. But how a person proposes to you tells you how they see you. A lot of times I think immediately about a couple that I counseled at one time. I don't know how he proposed to her, but I know he bought her an extremely cheap ring. And in our attempt to be humble these days, that's probably all he could afford. No, you have to look at that. You got to look at the dynamic of that. But he bought her an extremely cheap ring. I dare to say it probably cost about $40, $20 to $40. Bought her an extremely cheap ring. And she was taking it because, she loved him and she just wanted, trying to prove herself or what have you. But then he ended up and bought himself in a really expensive coat. And he was spending money on himself like crazy. He was a selfish person. That's what was destroying their marriage. He was a narcissist. Bought himself a really expensive coat. And one particular time she went and got the coat or something. And he told her, take my coat off. That costs more than your ring. Don't fool with my coat. It costs more than your ring. So sometimes what a person spends on you tells you just how much they value you. So I'm not saying that that's an automatic that a man has to go out there and spend several $1,000s. If he doesn't have it, granted, okay, you start from scratch. You start where you are. But if he has it and he says, hey, I want to save this money for us, our future, for our house and all that, okay, that's fine. But pay attention, because if he turn around and pull up with some rims on his car, get that dude his ring back. So hold up. You spent $99.95 on a Black Friday special to get me this ring, and you just went out here and dropped a whole $1,000 on some rims? You just dropped a whole $1,000 on some rims? So you value your car more than you value me. So again, prophetic people often wrestle with lust, which is porn and masturbation. Did I finish that story that I was telling? Okay, yeah, I did, I guess. Number 3, prophetic people don't do well in relationships. You know why? Prophetic people, most of the time, you don't know who you are. You have not gotten consecrated. You have not surrendered to your gifting. You have not served. You have not been activated. So you don't know how you're wired. And because you don't know how you're wired, Satan knows more about you than you know about yourself. So he loves to play with your wiring. He uses your wiring as strings. You become a puppet of his. So when you're in a relationship, you have a tendency to deal with a lot of emotion. So for example, your husband comes in the room and you're just like, so you're not going to even kiss me? Do I look fat in this? You start fights out of nowhere over stupid stuff. If he came in the room, get up and kiss him. But you start fights over silly things because you're almost always, you spend a lot of times in your emotions, and a lot of things don't measure up to how you imagine them to be. You have a tendency to create. Remember, I told you shop for all of these things from your imaginations, and it sets the stage for divorce because you got all these great, magnanimous, grand expectations, but you'll go get somebody that's broken and you expect him to reach that. And so you marry his potential, then you get mad when he doesn't reach it. You marry his potential, but you divorce his reality. You get mad because he don't look nothing like what you put up there. He was supposed to be keep sweating on you every night. He's supposed to be running bath water, and he's supposed, be washing your hair. Y'all supposed to be having romance all the time. You supposed to be having babies popping out. Y'all supposed to be having all these wonderful things, but none of those things have come to pass because he's a standard guy, and you don't know how you're wired. Let me say this, prophetic people, hear me when I say this. You need to understand your prophetic wiring. You need to be activated. You need to be walking in your gifting before you even consider getting in a relationship. Because prophetic people have a tendency to fantasize about a lot of things. Not only that, that's your creativity coming into play. That's your creativity, your imagination. God created that beautiful mind of yours so that you can create. But when you're not creating for the kingdom, you will create drama. When you're not created for the kingdom, you will create drama. You will have a lot of suspicion. You'll have a lot of thoughts. You'll have a lot, you know. I don't know what it is. I think Tyrone's cheating on me. Okay, what happened? Is he staying out late at night? No. Is he y'all married? I know y'all. Is he having sex with you? Oh yeah, we have plenty of sex. So what's happening to make you think he's not? Uh, he just hasn't bought me roses in a long time. Wait, you think he cheating on you because he ain't bought you roses? He just right. Prophetic people, they make for good movie writers. You guys can make millions of dollars. Many of you could make from what goes on in your mind. That's the reason why I write, because my mind is just or what have you. I can create something beautiful and funny or what have you. And I had to realize that about my wiring. I had to realize that about our wiring. You said you stay in our business. I love it. I had to realize that about my wiring. I remember when I hate to even admit this. I hate to admit this, but it is what it is. Put myself out there. I remember, because what we have a tendency to do is we like to play with our wiring. Like I said, I just remember there were times, and this was back in like when I was living in Florida, when I was, going through after I had gotten my divorce. I used to go to restaurants and I would see like a handsome guy, and I go and I just kind of imagine how beautiful that would be, and I would just kind of put this beautiful love story together in my head. Now I know it's not gonna happen. I'm not expecting it to happen at all, but I would just put it in. I would entertain myself with the story about how it is. I see a guy sitting on the bench and he's handsome, and I think to myself how beautiful it is. He done got stood up for his the woman that he's supposed to be with has stood him up, and he's frustrated or what have you, and somehow we run into each other and we end up having lunch together, and it turns out to be a match made in heaven. We have beautiful imaginations, right? Most vivid, and what have you. And I used to leave there thinking, I should write that. I should write that. I should write that story out. But we have some amazing, silly imaginations, right? Just we expect the guy, to be like, walking up, or in that particular story, a guy walking up and he'd be like, Toya? No, Tiffany. Oh man, I'm waiting on my date. Oh, try texting her. Try texting her. I did. She's not answering her calls. She's not doing anything. Well, maybe she's late in traffic. Her phone probably died or what have you. No, I don't think that's the case. I just think she's blowing me off. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You have anybody going to be sitting with you? No, actually, I don't. Is he taken? Have a seat. Then it sets the stage for us to talk for 4 hours and laugh and realize that, hey, this is beautiful. Right? It doesn't turn out the way, and that's what set prophetic people tend to be argumentative because of that. That's what God had to teach me to stop doing. He had to teach me to stop playing with my wine. Now I can play with it when it comes to creativity, but when it comes to my life, He says, um, "Take no thought for tomorrow, for sufficient for today is the trouble thereof." And I realized when you start putting your mind into tomorrow, you can set yourself up to become what they call cray cray. So I had to learn how to navigate that this mind that God has given me, and not imagine what my life would be like, or because it sets the stage for disappointment, it sets the stage for divorce, because you create this beautiful story, you create this beautiful thing, and then when you meet somebody, you expect them to come in and instinctively know their role in your play, and you haven't given them a script, you haven't given them anything, but you expect them to instinctively come in and know their role. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm going to tell you something, prophetic people have a tendency, especially women, and I want you to tell me if I'm lying, prophetic people have a tendency, when we're married, when we're in relationships, if we're having a disagreement, we'll be in our bedroom imagining reconciliation. So we'll sit there and think the problem out, and then we'll put together the perfect argument in our mind. We think that we about to go diffuse the whole argument, right? So we'll put it in our mind. We'll be in a room, the man in the other room, he in the living room, or what have you. Let's say he in the bedroom, and you downstairs. We'll put this, in the mind, because what we're about to do is we're about to go up in there. We're gonna prove that we're right, and he gonna say, "I'm sorry," and then we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna make a plan, and then we're gonna make mad love. And it sets the stage for it sets the stage for a blow up, because men rarely respond that way because you haven't given the person a script. Not all people. It's prophetic people have a tendency to do that. We haven't get so we'll sit up there and be like, I think I got the evidence. I can prove to him that he was wrong and I'm right. And then he'll apologize. I'm gonna go up in there and I'm gonna tell him I don't really want to fight, babe. I don't want to fight. I don't want us to fight no more. But what I was telling you, here go the receipt right here, and here go the text right here, and this is what I was saying. I wasn't trying to fight with you. So and he'd be like, "Oh wow, I'm sorry I blew up at you. I'm sorry I reacted the way I did. But baby, you gotta trust me sometime." You're like, "Baby, it's okay." Then he go to play fighting and what have you. We talk and we laugh, and then that was the night our son was conceived. All right. All right. Y'all don't want me to tell you secrets. You don't want me to tell you secrets. That's how prophetic people think. When a prophetic woman, to my brothers, when she comes in the room and wants to talk about it, that's typically what's going on in her mind. She's in her mind, we're about to reconcile. In her mind, we're about to make up. In her mind, and, and she's wrong. I'm gonna put that out there. She's wrong in a lot of cases because she has not taken into accountability that she could be wrong. So she's still trying to prove her case. But she just thinks that she's gonna prove her case and it's gonna end. Y'all gonna consummate it, and that's what we have going on. Ty said he was sorry and went to sleep. That's not how it's supposed to go, right? And we get mad about that stuff. Prophetic people will be sitting up there looking at the man sleep. Just looking at him sleep, getting mad that how dare you be able to fall asleep when I'm frustrated? How dare you be able to fall asleep when I can't sleep at all? How dare you? How dare you? All right. What was that? Like I said, don't do well in relationships. Number 4, prophetic people, because of your sensitivity, you often wrestle with unforgiveness. You have trouble forgiving people because events hurt you. I won't even say on a deeper level, but I will say because of your sensitivity, pain can actually merge with your creativity. Did you catch that? Your pain can actually merge. If it hurts you so bad, it can merge with your creativity. So let me tell you what that looks like. It can look like, okay, he left, but that's okay because I'm gonna go get a BBL. Not me personally, I would never do that, but that's some of y'all. I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna go get that. By the time he see me again, I'm gonna be fine, and I'm gonna have me a Shamar Moore, a nice fine man of God who gonna be raising his son because he walked out of our lives. And that's that. That's your pain merging with your creativity. Writing painting poems is funny because I found poems I had wrote when I was married, and I found, and these were poems I wrote back in like 2005, 2000, yeah, like 2005. It was under my married name. I won't tell y'all what that was, Lord Jesus, because I found, I don't even know if that website is still up. It was down at one point. Let me see if it came back up. I found a poem I had wrote, man. I cried laughing. I was like, man, you were hurting. Let me see if it's back up. I looked at that poem. I said, sister girl, you was in some pain. All right, yeah, looks like it's back up. Can't tell y'all what my married name was because folks actually be doing, internet show you the type of searches people do in relation to your name. Oh, I don't see it on here anyhow. But yeah, people have been typing in Tiffany Buckner, husband. They've been trying to figure out who my exes are and what have you. Like, are you serious? Like, why you want to know who these dudes are? But your pain oftentimes merges with your creativity, and it makes it a lot harder for you to go and get, because now you create this event and you keep building on it, and the more time you spend imagining this event happening, the more valuable it becomes to you. And so consequently you spend a whole lot of time waiting for something to come to pass that God is not going to bring to pass. You keep waiting on this event where this amazing man is going to come into your life, Shamar Moore style, and he's gonna be fine. And I'm talking about bro man gonna be, massaging toes and doing, he gonna be one of those like super duper romantic, good looking dude. He gonna have success. He gonna be all of these wonderful things, and your ex is gonna be jealous. He's gonna regret the day that he walked away from you, and that's gonna be it. So consequently, what you do is a lot of your relationships, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, are not relationships that you've entered because God called you to them. And obviously not called you to them, but not a lot of relationships. A lot of your relationships are a spinoff of your previous relationships. Uh-oh, I said it out loud. A lot of your relationships are a spinoff. They are a response to your previous relationships. You got with this guy because he looked like your ex. You got with this guy because he reminded you of your ex. You got with this guy because he has something your ex didn't have. It's a spinoff of your former relationships. It's a spinoff. And as long as you're in that series, you can't start a new book. You can't start a new book as long as you're in that series. So you keep going from all these relationships, and it sets the stage for the root of bitterness to come into your life because you get with the Shamar Moore character. You come across this dude and he fine. And he's super duper romantic or what have you. He good looking. He say all the stuff you want him to say, and he tells you your ex is stupid for walking out your life, and all he tells you all this beautiful stuff. And then all of a sudden, one day he does the same thing, if not worse. Now you got a kid with him, and he didn't left. Thank you, God gives me peace. God bless you. God bless you. But now he done ran out your life. Now you over here mad because now you imagine, because the first guy is the foundation for every relationship that you enter. Mm-mm. First guy. This is why that foundation has to be destroyed. I'm not talking about the person. I'm talking about the principle. But you get mad because you're wondering, you imagine that the first guy is laughing. You're not even worried about the second guy. You over there like, I know Tyrone. I know he talking about me. I know he laughing. I know he think he got it going on because he been with Cantia. He'd have been with Cantia for 3 years or what have you. He done did some girl look like a burnt rooster. But you know what? I ain't even worried about him. That man ain't worried about you, and you're considering him. Prophetic person, hear me when I say this. You have got to, one of the things you have to do when you're a prophetic person, and it's important, you really have to get a counselor. Prophetic people need counselors. You need to have a deliverance minister on standby. And when I say on standby, I'm not talking about people that you can call freely on the phone and they're going to get on the phone and work with you and your demons. Ain't nobody got time to be constantly casting demons up out of you. But I'm talking about a church that does deliverance, or if your church doesn't do deliverance, you need to make sure that you're going to deliverance conferences. You have somebody that you can book for deliverance, or what have you. Apostle Ivory Hopkins, like I said, he does it. But you want to make sure that you have a system. You want to make sure that you have a system. When you're a prophetic person, you need that system. If you don't have that system, you set yourself up to be 3 shades of crazy. Most people in insane asylums, or I don't know if they call them that anymore, but it's psych wards. Most people who are in what we used to call the crazy house or the institution, most people who are in there are prophets or prophetic people. The majority of them. It's just that the enemy hijacked their minds. It's just the enemy hijacked their minds. A lot of prophets and prophetic people are schizophrenic. A lot of them. I can tell you now. People who wrestle with schizophrenia, they watch this channel as well. It's a demon. And when you're dealing, I've done coaching calls with schizophrenic people, and you can tell when a person is schizophrenic based on the story that they're putting together. But one thing about it is you can't convince them that the story is not real. You can't convince them, because prophetic people when you're dealing with somebody who's dealing with schizophrenia, you will see a pattern. They think everybody's after them, because it partners schizophrenia. That demon partners with the spirit of suspicion. They are the devil hijacks their creativity. So whenever the devil hijacks their creativity, they think, why is this man constantly looking at me? He in on it. See, Tyrone, ever since I broke up with him, he been trying to destroy my life. He don't want me to be with nobody. And so now this man looking at me and all that. And I know Tyrone and paid him. He wanted Tyrone's little flying monkeys or what have you. Tyrone and paid him to watch me, because this is the third time I saw him today. Y'all work at the same company. But why he watching me? Maybe he may be attracted to you. Or maybe you look like somebody. But when you're dealing with somebody who is schizophrenic, a lot of times they will put a story together and it makes absolute sense to them. I'm talking about they'll put it together and they have a lot of aha moments. And they have those times where they be like, oh, mm-mm. And I'm going to tell you, for those of you who may not realize you're wrestling with schizophrenia, for those of you who are wrestling with it, some of the signs is you think people are trying to kill you. People are hiring folks to watch you, to monitor you. When you start bringing in the CIA, the FBI, tapping your phones and tapping your systems, that's typically a sign that is a demon. That's just a schizophrenic person. That's a schizophrenic person. And a lot of people who wrestle with schizophrenia are undiagnosed. They will walk away from their family, cut their family off, because they think their family's plotting on them. They think their whole family, the entirety of their family. And I'm not saying if you cut your family off, you're schizophrenic, because a lot of us have had to walk away from our families because of their levels of toxicity. But when you think that there's a scheme, a plot, and everybody is plotting to kill you, and they trying to take you out, and they done hire folks, and they got folks behind the scenes and all of that, and they're doing all that stuff, that's typically a sign of an unhealthy mind, because that's your creativity that has been hijacked. No, there's nothing wrong with cutting off your family if they're toxic, and you know that, hey, I'm praying for them, but they like to bring a lot of toxicity into my life. But it's when you start thinking that they scheming against you, whenever you're able to put together a scheme. Prophetic people, or people who wrestle with schizophrenia, typically put together a scheme. And so I counsel plenty of them, and a lot of times they've had this story, they have this elaborate story in their mind. And the elaborate story typically is going to involve people, like the Bible says, think no higher of yourself than you ought to. And schizophrenic people have a tendency to see themselves as, like, they almost feel like they're in a spotlight, like everybody's after them. Like everybody's trying to hurt them. Everybody's trying to kill them. Everybody is plotting against them. People are plotting against their children. People are plotting. And so they have a tendency to walk around. And so let's say, for example, if I'm shopping on the same aisle, and there are levels of schizophrenia, it's demonic oppression or possession in some cases. But if I'm walking on an aisle and there's a schizophrenic woman on that aisle, if I'm in Walmart and I'm just like, okay, and I stand there too long and I'm reading, in her mind, she can start developing a theory. I wonder if that girl that Tyrone was messing with, he was cheating on me with. Now she on this aisle trying to watch me. Now me, I'm innocent over here. I'm like, smart water. What's the difference between this Like, is it does it have any different taste? Because vapor distilled water, electrolytes for taste, what have you. So I'm comparing it to other water. So I'm spending some time on that owl. But in her mind, she will develop a theory. In her mind, I'm cheating with her man, or I've cheated with her man. And the reason I'm standing there is because I'm following her. And so consequently, if I end up, which is likely to happen, if I end up on another aisle that she's on, she may start to get anxious. I'm showing you because you guys have been on aisles with people who deal with schizophrenia. And so if I end up on another aisle, I'm on another aisle. Now I'm over here and I'm looking at lotion. I'm over here in this, and I'm over here looking at lotion. And she happens to be on the aisle. Now she was on the aisle first. I happen to come down the aisle. I see her. I already know that it just felt really weird the last time, but you know what? I don't care because I need to get my stuff, and I'm not about to not shop an aisle. So I go over there, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. So I'm looking at the lotion. I'm looking, and I'm just looking at it, what have you. And she lets out because she's doing that because of what's going on in her head. In her mind, I'm on that aisle to mess with her. In her mind, I'm monitoring her. Now, let's say, because this does happen, let's say we end up at the checkout at the same time. We're shopping at the same time. So the likelihood of, or the probability of us being at the checkout at the same time is relatively high. I'm not following her. I'm not even interested in her. I don't know her. All I'm doing is whenever I go to Walmart, I'm just buying everything that I need. But in her mind, I'm her ex's girlfriend, or I'm her husband's mistress. I'm somebody and I got my eyes on her. Yes, a lot of times it can come from trauma, but I got my eyes on her. And so now I'm over there and I'm in the checkout lines. And let's say she's the register next. So now she picks up her phone. Girl, I'm trying not to go to jail up in Walmart. I'm trying to tell these folks don't know. I will straight knock them out. Now I'm in the next line and I'm just like, okay, can't be talking about me because I don't know her. But that's a sign of schizophrenia. It's a sign of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia, it's a split in the soul. It means a double mind. And the soul is just like a windshield. It'll start with a small crack and it continues. This is why you got to get therapy. It continues to grow. It continues to that if that crack is not dealt with, that mind continues to split. It continues to split, and so the person will start dealing with schizophrenia. And the more it splits, then eventually the person starts coming up with these elaborate stories because they're creatives, right? So because they're creative, they're having these thoughts of, oh my goodness, I know you were plotting against me. This is why people like that, they'll cut you off all of a sudden. They'll cut you off and you don't know what you did, but it's because of what's going on in here. It's because of what's going on in here. They're always wrestling with suspicion. They're always thinking that you're plotting against them. They're always thinking that you did something against them or what have you. And you're genuinely not thinking that way. I've had to have conversations with plenty of people and say, I that wasn't for you. Like, or I didn't know that you would take offense to that or what have you. But that's what prophetic people have a tendency to do. When your mind is not healthy, you are creative. But if the enemy, the Bible says, guard your heart, for out of it pours the issues of life. If the enemy hijacks your creativity, what the enemy will do is he will use your creativity against you. He will use your ability to formulate beautiful stories that could turn into bestsellers or amazing movies or plays or what have you. He will use that creativity and he'll kind of throw you into the scene. And so now you are the victim and everybody around is a villain. People are plotting on you. They don't like you for this reason. They don't like you for that reason. That's, and first and foremost, it's not always schizophrenia until the crack reaches a certain length. I want to say it that way because I don't want everybody thinking you have schizophrenia. It's like the mind is going to start off. It's going to have it'll have a little crack. I'm not going to draw, but it'll have a little bit of crack on the windshield, and right there, that's just trauma. That's just trauma. But if that trauma is not dealt with, that crack continues to grow. It continues to grow. And then if it continues to grow, eventually over time, your mind splits. This is what it means to be double-minded. And if you keep playing with sin, you can become double-minded or schizophrenic. But your mind splits. So consequently, what ends up happening is it becomes very difficult for you to tell reality from what's not real. And this is why when you're dealing with a schizophrenic prophet or schizophrenic prophetic person, is very hard to come to even take through deliverance. It's not hard to cast the demons out once you convince them that your mind's not supposed to work like that. But they are so determined, they are so convinced that you are after them or other people are after them and that people are plotting against them, and then when you try to tell them, then they start thinking that you're a part of it, that people paid you, people hired you, and you now a part of it, and they be like, I should have reached out to you, I should have known they got to you too. Thank you, Sister Maisha, God bless you, sis. I should have known that they got to you too. And then they'll cut you off or what have you. And then when they get to the highest level of schizophrenia, a lot of times they start plotting murder and stuff like that. They start talking about killing folks because in their mind they feel like that's the only way they're going to get free, but they're just literally being tormented by a demon. They're being tormented by a demon. So prophetic people often wrestle with unforgiveness. Again, your trauma has a tendency to merge or to begin to integrate itself with your creativity. And you have to make sure that you separate the two. You have to make sure that you are getting therapy. And one of the ways that you forgive people, one of the greatest ways that you forgive people is by taking accountability. Never look for what a person did wrong. Always look for your wrong in a situation. Take accountability. It's as simple as that. Take accountability. Whatever went wrong, okay. We broke up because he wasn't saved. I wasn't supposed to get with him in the first place. Or we broke up because God did put us together, but I slept with him. So when I slept with him, I went straight into idolatry, and we didn't repent like we should have. We just said, oh, it was a mistake. But in all our honesty, God looks at our heart and he says, your heart is not repentant. You did what you wanted to do because y'all wanted to test each other out. Now you're trying to run back over to abstinence, but your abstinence is not real. It's just you that went over here and you proved yourself. You given your offering to your God. And God is like, I want you to truly repent. I want you to truly repent. So prophetic people have a tendency to deal with unforgiveness. Last one, prophetic people are givers. Prophetic people are givers. Prophetic people are givers. When I say you're a giver, I want you to understand this. Many of you have the gift of charity. I've said this and I've said it before. And before I go into this, because some of what I'm going to say could be a little bit offensive, because I'm hitting areas where there may be demonic activity. Anytime you hit an area where there's demonic activity, you will experience pride, you will experience offense. These are guarding spirits. So offense is typically a guarding spirit because the Bible said you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. So when somebody starts to release the truth at you, then the spirit of pride or Leviathan will jump in the front and try to keep you from getting that. It keeps you, it stiffens your neck, hardens your heart. The spirit of offense will come forward and it starts to talk to you and say, oh, the reason she's saying this or what have you, the reason they're saying that, these are spirits, because you got to understand, as a prophetic person, the enemy never wants you to be on assignment because you are assigned to help bring forth or facilitate his end. He doesn't want you on assignment. He wants you obsessed with relationships. He wants you to be sitting up there thinking about, when am I going to get married? This is why prophetic people, you make horrible friends in many cases. If you are obsessed with marriage, you don't make a good friend, because you are so determined to have a marriage that you oftentimes fall into the trap of idolatry. You oftentimes fall into the trap of idolatry, and you call it loving hard. This is the excuse you have for going in idolatry. I just love hard. No, you have a tendency to go in idolatry, and it's probably generational. Thank you, Sister Cherie. God bless you, sis. It's probably generational. You have a tendency to go into idolatry, so you have a tendency to build friendships with people, but your friends are nothing but offerings. They're nothing but sheep that you're going to use to sacrifice for your narcissist, because you have a tendency to go after narcissistic people. It's not that narcissists always come after you. You have a tendency to go after narcissists. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Amen. But you have a tendency to go after narcissists. It's a familiar spirit. You're familiar with them. You're comfortable with these type of people. You have a tendency to go after narcissists. And so for you, you set the stage for a whole lot of the pain that you have been in. And not only do you set the stage for the pain, then you get into unforgiveness and you get mad because you have not taken accountability. You have not taken accountability because you are so caught up in your fantasy about how life should be. This is why you get mad at people. You get mad at your pastors. You get mad at your friends. You get mad at your parents. You even get mad at your children because for you, you're just like, why? Okay, Mother's Day. You get mad because your children didn't give you the Mother's Day you wanted. Because in your mind, y'all gonna honor me at church. My mother did that one time. I remember we went to church one time and the people were getting up honoring their mothers and stuff like that. And we were kids, we were young. We weren't thinking about it. And I think we were mad at my mom. Mama wouldn't all this stuff that kids were talking about their mama did. Mama, I mean, now that I think about it, she did a lot of great things, but we just was she before church, she would oftentimes become really hard. And she left the church, and when we left, she was mad at us. She was like, y'all didn't say nothing about me. And I was like, were we supposed to? I didn't know that. And everybody didn't get up. Thank you. Thank you, N. God bless you, sis. God bless you. God bless you. I didn't want to mispronounce your last name, but God bless you. Thank you. All right. So again, prophetic people are givers. You are givers. You are givers. And no, that doesn't pertain to false prophets. No. A lot of people get true prophets confused with false prophets. The reason people get true prophets confused with false prophets is because people look at prophets in the infancy of their gifting, and they do immature things, and it's easy for them at that stage in their lives to be labeled as false prophets. And once somebody has been labeled as a false prophet, it is almost hard for them. It's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but it's hard for them to recover from that label. So this is why it is never a good idea to speak against a church or to speak against a minister. Even if you see a minister in sexual sin or in some type of error, it is never a good idea for you to pronounce judgment on that person, because you don't know. They could have a David complex. When we look at King David, God said he's a man after his own heart. That was God's son, but David made 1,000 mistakes. David struggled with some stuff. He was prophetic, but and I'm pretty sure there were people out there that were saying God ain't with him, and what have you. So you have to be very mindful of what you say. This is one of the reasons why, a lot of times when I come across a leader, I'm not going to open my mouth and say, oh, this person is real or that person is false. The only time I can genuinely call a person false is when a person, when a person is into witchcraft, or the person is practicing witchcraft, or the person has a record of hurting people. That person has a record. And I'm not talking about what people say behind the scenes. I'm talking about you just see it out in the open. They nasty, they mean. You just see behaviors and what have you. And I have to see repetition of that. But I'm still not prone to fascinate myself with that person and even try to decide, to debunk their ministry. That's not my assignment. My assignment is just to preach the word of God and let God deal with them. So prophetic people are givers. Prophetic people are givers. So, right, they teach lies as well. But prophetic people are givers. What that means is most of you're super sensitive. You have the gift of charity. I've taught this before, but it needs to be said again. You have the gift of charity, which is the gift of love that compels you to give. You have the gift of charity. And with that gift, you just have a heart for people. You have a tendency to love on people. And with that gift, what God wants you to do, a lot of your deliverance comes through your giving. But the problem is the enemy perverted that gift when you were a kid, when you were young, when you were a young person. The enemy perverted that gift by surrounding you with takers. The majority of people on the face of this planet are consumers. We learned that in the market. We can look at the statistics and find out that 1% of the world owns so much of the wealth. I think it was like right about 36 or what have you. But 1% of the world owns the majority of the world's wealth. But the majority of people on the face of this planet are consumers. But, there are some people out there that, God wants you to fund. God wants you to fund the church. You were designed to, even if not fund, you are designed to create for the church, to do great things for the church. You are designed to do certain things. And even if it's not for the church, to build apartment complexes for the homeless. You're designed for these type of things. But the problem is the enemy attacked you in the area of your giving when you were a kid. And when he attacked you, he surrounded you with toxic people, typically your family, that they were taking to the point where you don't like feeling stupid. You felt stupid, you felt used, you felt bad. And so consequently you stop giving. Or whenever you do give, you give little. You give little. And like I said, I'm going into an area where I have to deal with the spirit of offense in order to get the truth into you, because that spirit is a guarding spirit. It is sit there, is there guarding a trauma wound. And one of the things that you have to have with the gift of giving, you have to have the spirit of discernment. If you are a prophetic people, a person, I challenge you right now to ask God to give you the gift of discerning of spirits. Now, if you're schizophrenic, I think you need to get healing first, because right now you'll be swearing. Because I tell you, people, I've had people in my comment section. The channel grows, but when you have that reach or a certain amount of reach, when you reach, you're gonna pull out some people that need some help. You're gonna pull out some people who are completely unhealthy. And even though God may bring them to your channel, the way their mind works, they automatically think, oh, you one of them, ain't you? You one of them, ain't you? And they're so determined to say that you false, you this and you that, and they haven't even prayed. I tell people all day, go pray. If even about me and any minister, pray. Say, God, is this a real deal? Is this a real deal? But when you're dealing with somebody whose mind is unhealthy, you can't convince them that this is a real leader. As a matter of fact, they're more likely to go after somebody who's false. They're more likely to pair up with a religion, a religious preacher. They'll go to a small religious witchcraft church and be like, yeah, that's right. All these people out here fake, but y'all are real. And they'll be out there getting in folks' comment section. You false prophet, you will burn, you have a reprobate mind. It's like, have you even prayed? Would you dare to speak against God's anointed? They're completely messed up people. And they don't understand, why do I have an obsession with following her if I think she's false? Why am I obsessed with, why did I hit the follow button? Why do I come log into her videos? Why? I never, why do I log into her videos? I cut the video on and sit there and watch it and growl the whole time. That is a whole demon. That's a whole demon. And God may have sent you here for me to cast it out. But it's a demon. It's a demon. But they do that. They don't just do that to me. They do that to every minister. Every minister has people following them that got demons on them, and they keep following, but they growling the whole time they're following. You false. Hell's gonna get you. You need to repent. You need to repent. And it's like, you do realize, right? Manifestation. You do realize you are on the channel manifesting, right? You do realize that's not healthy. You do realize that that's a sign that's okay. But let's get back into that. Prophetic people are givers. You're givers. You have a heart for people, unless you've been traumatized. And if you've been extremely traumatized, you probably lost your heart for people. And even though you feel a sense of compassion, your sense of compassion, your desire to not feel stupid is greater than your sense of compassion. It's greater. You are compelled, and God designs you to give. When you find yourself, when you have the discerning of spirits and you got the right people around, it makes you excited. It makes you more creative because you're excited to give, because you can give in a safe place. But you got to get past the trauma first. But you are excited to give. If you get into a good godly church, for example, and God starts awakening your gifts, and you over there and you giving and you volunteering and you building, and I got an idea or what have you. You're excited because you're in a healthy place. You're in a place where your gifts can come out in a safe place. And then you can go ahead, and that's when you start to discover greater levels of your creativity. As long as you're not in a safe space, your gifts will be constipated on the inside of you, and you will just, they're perverted. They'll be perverted. Perverted means to go in the wrong direction. It means to be used. It means to be used in the wrong way. perverted. It's constipation. It's locked bowels. What should have been coming out of one thing came out of the other. You have to learn. And here's the thing: you have to learn how to love people. Prophetic person, hear me when I say this. You have to learn how to genuinely love people. And you have to pray for that. You got to learn how to genuinely forgive. You're not going to give that waiting on yourself to heal naturally. You need to get yourself a counselor. You need to get yourself a counselor. And I'm always talking about my sister in Christ. She's a pastor and she's a therapist. Pastor Shanithia, I advise you to get with her and get some counseling going. Start some counseling sessions. If you're a prophet or prophetic person, set up monthly counseling sessions. Set up weekly in the beginning. Set up you some weekly counseling sessions. Go ahead and start unpacking this stuff so that your gifts and everything that's on the inside of you can begin to come out. Can begin to come out. Thank you. So your gifts can begin to come out. And when your gifts begin to come out, you will be a blessing. I can tell you, and I'm getting ready to close. And typically when I say that, I got 15 more minutes. I can tell you this. For me, my gifts came out when I got into a safe place. In my early 30s, I didn't realize my gifts. I didn't realize it. Early 30s. Yeah. I think it's my early 30s. I didn't realize my gifts. I didn't realize a lot of things about me. These gifts have been coming out. And the more God heals me, it just overwhelms me with the amount of gifts that I'm discovering that he's bringing to the surface. And I'm like, God, and it's overwhelming because it's like you're pulling so much out of yourself. You're like, I can do this. Wow. I just released card games. I don't think you ladies have the link, but let me see if I can get the link for you. I don't think y'all have it. To the moderators, thank you guys so much for being amazing. Honestly, thank y'all for moderating for me with my hyperactive cell that come up on here. All right, give me a second. By the time I get over there, all right, let's see here. I just released some card games. People wonder why I create so much. I don't do this. All right. Come on. I'm trying to copy you. Okay, I forget this is the Apple computer. Okay, I had to remember that. All right, where am I? Where was I? Ah, here we go. Awesome. Look, she posted up TiffanyBuckner.com. That's what I should have did. I didn't even think about that. That's perfect, sis. All right. Here's another link too. And you got to have, even for the people in your household. Matter of fact, when it comes to the people in your household, you have to have limitations and boundaries. Get my book of boundaries, guys. The book of boundaries is 5 book of boundaries because God gave me so much revelation about boundaries, types of boundaries, how to set boundaries, or what have you. Different things that people do, different things that demons do to get beyond your boundaries. Get all 5 books of those boundaries. But you have to learn how to set and establish boundaries. When you start setting and establishing boundaries, here's what happens. Once you set boundaries, it creates an enema in your life. It causes your life to have an enema. And what I mean by that is it's almost like putting something in water, and then when you hit the water with, this is the way I'm imagining it. You hit the water with something, and then everything, the water kind of spreads out. It causes everybody to get in place in your life. So when you don't have boundaries and when you haven't healed or what have you, you have a tendency, you got the players on the board of your life. Everybody is close. Everybody is where you want them to be. You know, based on your voids, based on your insecurities, you set people up in the wrong way. But when you begin to heal and set boundaries, it forces people to get in their proper positions. Even it causes people to go out of your life. But the Bible says before you build anything, you must first count the cost. A lot of times you don't count the cost. So whenever you start trying to set boundaries, a lot of prophetic people, once you start trying to set boundaries and you start seeing people leave your life, it hurts. Especially friends you've had 10, 15 years. You come to discover that they're not real friends. You know, that they're there because you have a void that matches their void. You both are feeding on each other. You created a codependent relationship with each other. Yeah, I have 10 card games on there. Just type in Anointed Fire. Type in Anointed Fire. Type in Anointed Fire, and you'll see all my card games. But you have a tendency, daddy in a box, right? That I love that one. And that's for the ladies who are dating. These are questions that you would ask a man. Um, these are questions that you would ask a guy when you're dating him, and these are questions that your father would have asked him, or what have you. And don't get that card game if you're not willing to play it out. Because if you play your card and you notice that, hey, he ain't answering that question the right way, that's a sign that you need to run. Don't play it and then be like, well, yeah, he ain't answering, but you know what? We got to have grace. Okay. I love it. I love it. Yeah, a lot of prophetic people are creators. They're inventors. Um, Sister Lillian, they are inventors. And what then happens is we almost always see our ideas on shelves. That's really traumatic within itself. That's really traumatic within itself. So I'm going to say this before I close. Get a counselor. I'm going to say this before I close. Get a counselor. Get the healing that you need. Get the deliverance that you need. Do I got a man? Nope. Nope, 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 nope. But yeah, I got Jesus. That's it. But get the healing that you need. Get the deliverance that you need. Um, get regular bouts of counseling. Don't be desperate. Don't be anxious for anything. And whenever you notice that something is not right in your life, get the help that you need. Go and talk to somebody and say, hey, this is what I feel. This is what I'm believing or what have you. And you got to be open to hearing the truth. I can't tell you how many times I've come in contact with people who are not open to hearing the truth. I did a counseling call one particular time, and I literally had to hang up the call in the middle of the call. And that I never had to have had to have that happen. But I literally had to tell her, hey, I gotta go. I'm just gonna shoot you a refund. I'm just gonna shoot you a refund, because the entire time she just kept cutting me off and telling me, oh, and that comes from levels of trauma. That's pride and offense. Those two spirits work together. And it's hard. You cannot counsel somebody like that. I can't. You see an empty water bottle and you see this. If this is you because of trauma and you've been drained, what happens is, if you don't get filled with the water of the word, if you don't get filled up, you're going to be full of yourself. When somebody tries to pour into you, you're going to vomit it back out. Nobody can get anything on you because you got your lid on. You have to have an open heart to receive counsel. You got to have an open heart. And it's a frustrating thing when you come across people that, because I remember this particular call, I was getting excited because I was sensing what was there. I'm like, oh, I got this. God is giving me revelation. And I couldn't get through. I couldn't get through because the heart. But that's not the first time. That was the first time I've had it to happen where I've had to say, hey, baby, I'm just gonna give you your money back. We're gonna end this call right now. I'm not doing this with you. But I've had cases, it's very hard to minister to somebody when they have already made up their mind and they're too busy trying to control the words that are coming out of your mouth. They're too busy trying to force you into believing what they believe about themselves. Can narcissists be prophetic people? Narcissists are typically Jezebels. Jezebels are after the prophets. Now, narcissistic people can be prophetic. Narcissistic people are oftentimes prophetic. The difference is, a narcissist is typically somebody who is full of the devil. This is a person that has a reprobate mind. A narcissistic person is a person who acts like a narcissist, thinks like a narcissist, reasons and behaves like a narcissist, typically because they've been exposed to narcissistic people, or they've been exposed to narcissistic or narcissists. They've been exposed. So it's hard to know the difference in a lot of cases, but a narcissistic person can be prophetic. But I would advise you to not engage on an intimate level with a narcissistic person. Your only assignment with a narcissistic person is to tell them what thus said the Lord and to demonstrate God's kingdom. But you don't marry these type of people. You don't best friend these type of people or what have you, because you're not going to get through to them. You're not going to get through to them. You're not going to get through to them. So listen, make sure that you guys are doing whatever it is that you need to do. Forgive. And I also want to give you an activation for those of you who are prophetic and you say, hey, I've been constipated in the area of my giving. I'm going to give you an activation. And to keep the suspicion, because I know some of you deal with suspicion, to keep the suspicion off me, I'm going to point you in another direction. I challenge you to give an offering into your church, or go find somebody that's homeless, go to a shelter, volunteer. Go ahead. These are activations. Go and start giving. Don't start doing it again. It's gonna feel uncomfortable at first. You're used to doing your own time, doing your own thing. It's gonna feel uncomfortable at first, but just go out there and go ahead and start doing those things so that you can get activated in your gifting again. If you don't have a church home, please, please, please get into a good church. Ask Holy Spirit to show you what church He wants you to go to. And when you go there, understand this. You know, there's a term called self-aware narcissist. Self-aware narcissist. And you see some of them kind of populating on the internet right now, where they are self-aware, meaning they're in counseling. They are aware of the fact that they're narcissists, and they use that knowledge to educate people about narcissism. You see them on TikTok and stuff like that. But I want you to understand this, is that you have to become a self-aware, I don't even want to say victim, but you have to be self-aware of the fact that you deal with rejection. You have to be self-aware of the fact that you're still traumatized. You have to be self-aware so that you don't always respond to everything the same way. You have to look at things and say, okay, that could be because I've suffered with trauma. That could be because, I may be distrusting of her, or I may be distrusting of him because of some stuff that I dealt with. Make sure that you are self-aware, but also get help. Get help. Because a lot of times what you're doing is you're throwing your life away, because you're hoping that I'm just gonna pray and God's gonna heal me where I am. Who am I talking to? Thank you, Sister Juanita. God bless you. I'm just gonna pray and God's gonna heal me where I am. Faith without works is dead. I'm throwing Bible at you. Thank you, Sister Tamitra. God bless you, sis. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. You're going to have to put the effort in. And you're going to have to and I'm an introvert too, sis. And here's the thing. A traumatized introvert oftentimes recoils, and we will recluse and go into a cave, and baby, we'll get comfortable there. And I'm telling you right now, God has to throw his fishing rod and drag us out. But you have to go after what you're afraid of. If you're afraid of relationships, you need to start them, but ask God for the discerning of spirits. Get into a good church home. And first, learn to establish boundaries before you start building up close relationships. There are levels to relationships now. Before you start building up close relationships, get the book of boundaries. Learn about boundaries. Educate yourself about boundaries. Get yourself a therapist. And then you go to, and make sure it's a saved therapist, y'all. Get you a saved therapist. Don't go out there, because a lot of these therapists are into witchcraft nowadays. I've heard stories, so you got to be mindful. Before you start building up close relationships, and then understand that you're not being rejected. I want you to hear me when I say this. Just because a person doesn't want to be your friend doesn't mean that they're rejecting you. That has to be understood. It's not that people are rejecting you. Sometimes people got their own things. Some people have, I'm trying to find a word for that. Some people look at a cue, or maybe the capacity. They're filled to capacity when it comes to friends. There are some people, we've seen them all of our lives. There are some people who can only have 3 friends. They don't do well with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 friends. They don't want to have to buy all y'all no Christmas gifts. They don't want their phones ringing all the time, or what have you. So it's not that they're rejecting you. It's just that they've already reached their capacity when it comes to friends. There are some people who may be discerning that spirit on you. People don't, for whatever reason, we think that we're nice enough that people should tolerate our demons, and nobody wants to open their life up for your issues. You got to understand that, and you have to be, you gotta sympathize with that. You got to empathize with that, because nobody wants to open up their life, you to come and traumatize them. For you to come in And I mean, I immediately think about an old friend of mine. The sister used to get mad at me for not answering my phone. And we'd be arguing, like literally screaming on the phone. I'm like, look, don't you be calling me with this. And I'd be busting out on the phone. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And as soon as I disconnected myself from her, she cried and she's like, you really hurt me. And I'm like, baby, no, this is not normal. I should not have to explain why I'm not answering my phone. I should, if I'm busy, I'm busy. I'm not about to be a slave to that. I'm not about to be a slave to that. I'm not about to go into this obligation like, oh my gosh, I got to set a special ringtone, and your ringtone has to sound like an alarm. Beep, beep, beep. And if I'm on the toilet, I gotta fall off face forward and crawl myself into the room and hurry up and get the phone and say, girl, I'm sorry. I tried to get it to ring. I ain't know it rung 3 times, girl. I got off the toilet as soon as I can. Oh goodness gracious. Can you come take me to the hospital? Because I think I broke something when I jumped off the toilet. It's just too much. It's too much work. You got to have people in your life who give you the grace to not want to talk to them. Because you don't want to be on the phone all the time. Matter of fact, I'm going to say this. I'll say this. Prophetic person, as you mature, you're not going to want to be on the phone all the time. Most mature prophets and prophetic people don't really care to be on the phone all the time. When you're immature, you always want to be on the phone. You always want to talk. And the reason you want to talk a lot, and I'm telling you from a person who's extremely talkative, the reason you want to talk a lot is because you're creative. That's your creativity coming out. And you're pouring out your creativity on this person. You could, sis, that 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour conversation you had on the phone, that could have been a book. You could have had that book out. You're just pouring your creativity out on another person. That's what you're doing. So, my activation, my challenge for you is give to your church. If you don't have a good church home, ask the Lord, go to a shelter, ask the Lord to send you to a good church home, find a shelter or find somebody to give. Begin to activate that gift of giving. You notice I didn't point at me because I don't need the accusation. I don't need the accusation. Find somebody to give to. Find somebody. Ask the Lord. Matter of fact, ask the Lord where He wants you to give. That's your best out. God, bless me to be a blessing. It's Thanksgiving season. It's Thanksgiving season. There's people out there who can't afford to purchase a turkey. There are people out there who are going to probably be eating cereal and noodles for Thanksgiving. Bless them. Buy them a turkey. I'm not telling you to go out there and do something grand and put yourself in debt. Even though the greater the blessing, it becomes the more of a sacrifice, the more it hurts you. That sets the stage for a bigger blessing. But buy somebody something. Call somebody. Somebody that may be lonely for that day or what have you. Do something outside of yourself. This is how we see that our children are maturing. Is when our children, when they first eating the chips and stuff like that, and when you try to get the chip in the bag, that's a baby. But when that baby take that chip for the first time and put it to your mouth, you're like, oh, that's so cute, and you want, but you won't eat the baby's chip because the baby gonna probably cry, what have you. But then eventually you're able to eat a little bit of the baby, and they reach in the bag. That shows a sign of maturity. Can I submit to you that God sees the same way? What happens in the natural is very similar to what goes on in the spirit. That's how God sees. The more selfless you become, that is a sign of your maturity. That is a sign of your maturity. But the more you cry and whine because you had to give up time to volunteer at church, and you tired of giving tithes and offerings, and more you cry and whine, that's the sign of your immaturity. It's a sign because you're just like, well, I gotta do this, why I gotta do that. But when you get to the point where you just like, okay, God, I ain't gonna sit here and say it always feels good, but you know what, God, I'm gonna be a cheerful giver, and I'm gonna rejoice and what have you. That's when God says, I'm about to increase your capacity, and God will begin to heal you. Again, ask God for the discerning of spirits, because when you get into the right position and you get into the right place where you can volunteer, help out, or you can be a blessing, you will find so many gifts coming up out of you. I had somebody, I want to speak to this. I had somebody reach out to me. I've had several of you reach out to me and ask to volunteer with me. I will open up something soon for you guys as well. Matter of fact, while you're on here, so I can honor my word. Lord. I just thought about that because I'm probably, but oh gosh. Ugh. I'm just saying that because I have to log into this website. I just when I'm trying to type it in, it's making it's showing me that I'm not logged in. I gotta log into this website. Typically, I'm already logged in. My password is not on there. All right, I don't have it on autofill. Okay, give me a second. All right, thank you. I'm not looking for that right now. Okay, give me a second, guys. Okay, what are we looking for? Oh yeah. Hold up, I think I had started creating this at one time. Uh, no. Let me look at it for it this way. Okay, I don't see it. Oh, I do. I think. Is this it? This it. Let me see. Then I gotta fill it out. Give me a second. Ah, 1 second, y'all. I have my form where you have to fill it out or what have you. And so I don't have people just be filling out the form, playing on the forms and stuff like that. It's mandated. Okay. Ah, it's getting on my nerves. Okay. Let me add one thing to here. Okay, I'll tell you what. No, let me do it now because I said I was going to do it now. The Remnant Writers, for those of you who want to take the Remnant Writers course, I said I was going to release it. And I want to make sure. There it goes. Why is it only showing one? Hopefully it shows two for you guys. I don't know. All right, so here's a link. Here's a link where you can register for the Remnant Writers course. Want to make sure that I put that in here. Let me honor my word. Let me honor my word. And I will launch this class on probably December. I will launch it in early December. I can't set a date now because I want to make sure, but it will be early December. So get in there for those of you who want to do the devotional. This is for the devotional. I have devotional templates or what have you. So get in there, register, and let's go ahead and get it on the roll. I'm going to set the seat for 50 people to register. Only 50. Only 50 for now. My goal is I'll have 100, but my forum website is I'm still limited on the people that can submit. So 50 of you, if you want to write a book, and the class is going to last, I'm thinking 2 weeks. 2 weeks, you will have this book written in 2 weeks because the template is already created. All you're doing is copying and pasting. So you will be an author. This is an amazing template. I've created several templates. Depending on which package you get, you should be able to get a template. Look in the comment section of the video. I may put some more links up there. But that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're going to be doing. So 50 people, right? A devotional. For those of you who are writing a devotional, I'm going to do Zoom calls with you. I'm going to be doing Zoom classes. I have to say Zoom classes because if you say Zoom calls, people automatically think individual, one-on-one, what have you. And it'll be 100 folks expecting one-on-one calls, and that's suicide. But no, I'm going to be doing a class with you guys. I'm going to be telling you the proper way, and we're going to be in a class. You're going to have your devotional, and we're going to be done with these devotionals within 2 weeks. I was going to do it within 1 week because you can literally finish it in a week, but just to give you grace, give you grace. Should I get delivered first? Well, no, I would say deliverance is not started when the demon is cast out. Deliverance starts in the mind when you realize that there is a demon. That's the first stage. When you make it in your mind that, hey, I'm getting this cast out, I'm going to walk in my anointing or what have you. I'm going to walk in God's grace. I'm going to walk in God's mercy. I'm going to serve God. That sets the stage for your deliverance. So if you're intentional, especially if you got a good church home and stuff like that, you're intentional, definitely go ahead because none of us are perfect. We all have something that we struggle with. My issue is procrastination. Even though I do a lot, I create a lot, what have you, I still wrestle. That's been still an issue. God delivered me from the strong man of procrastination, but there's some things I can look at and I still be like, and I'll go and do something I prefer to do as opposed to doing what I should be doing or what have you. So make sure I'm gonna start off with 50 seats, and I'll probably open it back up for 50 more people to register in probably early December once my form resets. Because y'all broke my form, but I praise the Lord for y'all. Y'all broke my forms, and so I thank you for the mass deliverance. A lot of people have registered for the mass deliverance, and I'm going to say this again. We had quite a few people that registered for Deliverance Prep University. Get in Deliverance Prep University. Get in there. If you plan on going through a mass deliverance with me, it's not mandatory, but I don't want to hear from you if you come onto the deliverance and you didn't get educated about deliverance. I do not want to get an email talking about, Sister Tiffany, I just had a bad dream. What does that mean? Because it's in the videos and you could have got educated about that, but you chose not to because you're trying to hold on to that $20 bill. Don't you do that to yourself. The look at the link. The Remnant Writers course to start is $149. There, it should be 3 packages. I didn't see it when I went, but sometimes it could be my form. I don't know why it's just showing me. It's only showing me the $149 option, but when I go to the edit, it shows me more. But it should be, and I may have to create other forms for it. Let me go to build. It's not the first time. Okay. There is standard access, and I need to explain these, I guess. Well, not I guess, but standard access, premium access, and platinum access. Standard access, you'll get the premium template, one of the standard premium templates, and you'll be able to write a book from there. All you're going to be doing is literally copying and pasting. It's just that easy. I won't say the full time. You'll just be filling in the blocks that's already created. You'll copy and paste the scripture. I'm going to tell you how to do that, and then maybe put a prayer up in there or something like that. It is so easy to do. Standard access is $149. Premium access gives you a greater template. It gives you a greater template, or what have you. And I think I may even throw a standard template in there with these. So probably get 2 templates. And then platinum access will give you access to at least 5. No. What was that? Premium access. I want to make platinum access is going to give you access, I think, yes, to 5 of the templates. You'll get access to 5 of the templates. And you will have up to 3 months to write books for all of those templates. So you'll be able to read at least 5 books as opposed to 1 book. So these are for those of you who are called to write. And sometimes for those of you who are called to write, you've never written a book, start off small. Start off with something like this that's easy to go ahead and get your feet wet or what have you. And something like this is pretty easy to edit, and it's amazing, guys. It's amazing. That's the reason I have to limit it to 50 people, because it's gonna get full. So I'm gonna have to limit it to 50 people for now. My goal is to have 100 people to register, but I will have to open up registration again in December. Or if I do open up registration again, it will probably be via Cash App, because like I said, my form is broken. It's telling me how many submissions I got left. Let me look. I know this is country, but it is what it is. How many submissions I got left this month? Because it's warning me. It's on red. I got 878 of 1,000 used. And I'm getting like 50 emails a day. I'm getting like 50 emails, people filling out forms. People have resorted to going to my contact forms now because I've taken down booking and all that other stuff. But please don't do that, y'all. Just info@tiffanybuckner.com if you're trying to get to the mass deliverance. info@tiffanybuckner.com, or what have you. And please don't. I know a lot of times people reach out to me and they're trying to convince me to do to basically do coaching with them, like via email. And it's like, you got to set up a coaching session with me. You can't just email me and think that I'm gonna sit there for 2 hours and chat back and forth, and then I'm gonna get out of your inbox and get into somebody else's, and that's gonna be that's gonna be what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. That's suicide, guys. So again, watch this video. I'm gonna post the link again. Watch this video. Watch this video. This is the video I was talking about earlier on. This is the music video that I shot. Leave a comment in there as well. This is the music video that I shot. This is what I was talking about. And you will see, for prophetic people, you may see a lot of yourself in this particular video. Thank you, AO. God bless you. Yes, I didn't even think about Google Forms. I didn't even think about that. Thank you. I'm going to look into that. Because my form website, I've never had it to blow up like that, to break like that. So I thank y'all for it. But it's just that I just don't want to pay the upgrade fee because I still have the beginner's plan, and I'm just being transparent with y'all. I ain't gonna fake it or what have you. I still have the beginner's plan. I have not beginners. I have the plan that I got when they first opened, and the company has grown in it, and so they gave us a commitment. Like it's job form. A commitment like if whatever package you got, you'll stay with that package for the rest of your life. So they've almost doubled their prices since then. So what I would have to pay double for it. So I got the best pricing. So I don't want to upgrade because I'd be all happy because I refer everybody who is a creator to Jotform. I'm like, get you an account with Jotform. They have a free tool, but get you an account with Jotform. I refer everybody to Jotform, and I've actually even considered creating another account and just using one of their free ones and sending that out as well. But I tell everybody to get them a free account with Jotform or what have you. But yeah, I just didn't want to upgrade. I just didn't want to upgrade. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I love y'all. I pray that y'all were blessed by today's teaching. Do me a favor, do me a favor, do me a favor, like and share. Make sure you show your support by liking and sharing. Again, activate your prophetic gifting this week. Go out and help somebody, especially this time of year. And let me say this, prophets and prophetic people, this can be the loneliest time of year. A lot of prophets and prophetic people commit suicide around this time of year because of loneliness. The cure for loneliness is not you being around people. The cure for your loneliness is for you to confront the spirit of loneliness and to bind it and understand that God is with you. And two, get into your gifting, get into your assignment. I literally I don't deal with it's funny. I have options, but I get invitations to come hang out here and to do this and do that. And I have so much peace with, that I'm not looking to go hang out with anybody. I'm not looking to go hang out with anybody. So just be mindful, guys. Be mindful. Don't don't allow yourself to go into depression. Don't allow yourself to be, sad just because you don't have. Don't allow yourself to feel like a victim. I never bite that particular fruit. When that's fruit is wrong, when the enemy tries to throw that fruit my way, and oh look at you, yeah, nah, I don't bite into that because at the end of the day, I am more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus. I'm not a victim. God has His hands on my life. God knows exactly what He's doing, and while my life may not look the way that I want it to, I am glad. I am grateful for the life He's giving me right now. I'm thankful for what He's blessed me to do. I'm thankful for what He's done. But I wouldn't have got to this place if I was sitting around whining and crying and feeling like a victim. I utilize my time to build. I utilize my time to use my gifting. That's what I utilize my time. I don't utilize my time I don't want to be on the phone with people 24/7 a day. This is probably why, I don't want to be on the phone with people all the time. I just want to build. I got my baby, and that's it. I got my baby. You say elbow call, elbow call. I love it. Thank you, thank you. Sister Nappy Happy has just posted up the suicide hotline. Please don't let the enemy tempt you to take your life. Just because your life don't look the way that you want it to look. My life used to look a hot mess. It was scary. It was frustrating. I was dealing with anxiety. I was depressed. I was frustrated. I dealt with majorly with rejection, and it was just, it wasn't a happy place. But I can genuinely say that I am in a really good place right now. I am in an amazing place right now. I love the peace that God has given me. He will bring you out of it. But you got to stop expecting God to come into your trauma and carry you out and put you in the pool of Bethesda. He will look at you and say, pick up your bed and walk. Faith without works is dead. Pick up your bed and walk. Stop feeling like a victim. Stop looking at what other people got because you don't know how much hurt they went through to get it. Or you don't know what they did. Stop looking. Don't compare yourself to people. I do not look at people and compare myself. I celebrate people. When people have something going great in their life, I'm like, oh, praise God. I celebrate them harder than they celebrate themselves. I don't wrestle with the spirit of jealousy because I don't feel entitled to their stuff. I'm not entitled to what they have. What God has for me is for me. That's it. And when God reveals, and as God reveals and gives me, I am completely taken aback by what He reveals in me. Prophets and prophetic people, you got to stop being competitive. You got to learn to be grateful for who you genuinely are. Competition is a sign that you have not fully embraced your authenticity, your original fingerprint. What makes you your unique self? You have not fully embraced that. And so, because of that, you're looking at other folks' stuff and you're giving them a hard time. You're allowing the enemy to cause you to release warfare at them because you don't understand why God uses them the way that He uses you. But, and the thing is, He may have wanted to use you at a greater capacity. He wanted to do something greater with you, but you just were too busy looking over here. She thinks she's pretty. Only reason he like her because she light skinned. Stupid man. We over here. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to nobody else. Just, like I said, get counseling, y'all. They're competitive. Look for, make sure the dynamic in the house is just. So a lot of times when you see extreme competition in a family, there is an unjust weight. And what that means is parents do this without realizing they do it. So I would tell you, as a grandparent, begin to pay attention to the parent. A lot of times they'll create the the scapegoat golden child dynamic in a household. And when that dynamic is created, it creates sibling rivalry, and that sibling rivalry will cross over into their adulthood, and they won't have anything to do with each other. I know, because I've come from that type of family. But it creates where, the parent is always putting a lot of pressure on one child. You didn't do this right. You didn't do this right. Or what have you. They're always fussing at the child. This seems to be the child that's not their favorite, but they have a golden child. And with the golden child, they're always giving praise to, buying gifts for. They're always doing things for. And a lot of times parents, they'll try to balance it out by intentionally doing for one child what they instinctively do for another one. And children can sense the difference, because what you do naturally for somebody, it just flows out of you like water. But when you're doing something for somebody else, it's almost like a reminder. It's almost like, oh yeah, I bought you some shoes too. Here. And the child can feel that. And a lot of times what that does is it creates jealousy and entitlement. And those two, when they get together, they fight. So it can create jealousy in a child who's being neglected. It can create entitlement in a child who's the golden child. So the golden child, a lot of cases, begins to see themselves and believe that they're entitled to more of the parents' attention. They're entitled to the best of everything. And a jealous child, starts looking at the golden child as a brat, and it creates this big dynamic. It creates this big dynamic, this big old fight between the children. And so consequently, y'all see the sibling rivalry, but you got to understand the children are down here. They have a different perspective of events. And a lot of times what you have to do is you have to make sure that dynamic isn't playing out. That every child, now you're not going to parent every child the same. Everybody has their own personality. So you're going to automatically instinctively parent every child the way that they need to be parented. But you also have to make sure that you don't have a child that is your favorite. You have to find things in each child that you favor. And a lot of times us, parents don't do that. And like I said, they do it instinctively. And how I know that is because when it comes to my friends, a lot of my friends with children, I've had to tell them, like, you're in balance with your kids. Like, you are really, really good with him. Like, you tell him you are always praising him. You're really hard on her. I'm not hard on her. You are really hard on her. And I'm telling you, and I don't say that in front of the kids, obviously, but you're really hard on her. And I'm telling you now, so she doesn't tell you when you get older, you're really hard on her. So I think you may have an issue with women. You may have an issue, or this is something your mom, or I may say, I remember your mom did that to you. You're doing that with your kids. And then I say, girl, please just go get therapy. Please. That's all I'm telling you. Go get some counseling so that you can get that out your system. I'm not sure about autism spectrum disorders. I have to do more studies on that before I can teach on it. But I have to tell them, go get some counseling or what have you. So they create that dynamic or what have you in the household. And like I said, when you become an adult, the golden child is really entitled. Oh God, they're typically, thank you, Fish in New York City. God bless you. But the golden child is typically very entitled. They feel like the sun and the moon starts and shines and revolves all around them. The world revolves around them, and You wrong if you don't give him. And they literally, it's amazing. They literally believe that they're victims. Genuinely, you can't convince them. Because they grew up with the dynamic of, they got all the attention, they got all this, and they got all that. They got it, they got it, they got it, they got it. But the scapegoat a lot of times is going to be wiser, stronger, or what have you, because they've had to survive. But it creates the sibling rivalry when they're kids, but it can grow. So I would tell you, as the grandmother, just begin to pay attention to the daughter to make sure, see how she treats each child. And if she says, no, I'm harder on him or I'm harder on her because they're spoiled, then I would tell her, say, hey, I think you need to go in. Because a lot of times what parents do, it's good to get kids counseling, but it's silly to get counseling for your kids without getting it for yourself. Because that's you assuming that the child is a problem. You assuming that the child is a problem. I'll tell you what they say to people when your dog has behavioral issues. They say it's not you, it's not the dog, it's typically you. It's typically you. It's typically you. So you want to make it a point to look into that, to make sure that the dynamic, that there's a balance in that dynamic, and then also look for the child who's always kicking off drama, and then you want to pull him or her and talk to them. Take them along. What's going on? Why do you always fight with your sister? Why do you always do this? Why do you always do that? Or what have you? So typically, what you see fighting are jealousy and entitlement. Those are the two warriors that you see, and you have to deal with those. Yeah, my mom was the same way. My mom would be like, I don't have favorites," and I'm like, "Yes, you do. It's clear." Like my whole family, nobody in my family, my whole family knew who my mom's favorite was. And my mom, she couldn't hide it. I don't even think she tried to hide it. But when we got older, I had a conversation with her, and she was mad at my brother one particular day, and she was about to call him and go off on him. And I told her, I said, "You've always done that." And I told her she was wrong or what have you, and she listened to me, and that started the healing process between her and my brother. And I thank God for that, because when I talked to her as an adult, and I really brought it to her attention, I said, "You've always done that. You've always chosen that child over your," and I said, "You've always done that." And I said, "That's the reason why he struggles with rejection." And, when I was talking to her about it, because I'm not defending myself, I'm defending him, and I had no dog in the fight. She realized that, she was wrong. And she was like, "Wow, I didn't know that." And she called my brother. She said, "Well, let me call him." And their relationship healed after that. Her and my brother, and this was like 2 years before she passed, 1 year, maybe 2 years before she passed, her and my brother's relationship was healed. It could be MG Nev. It could be entitlement. I got to get off here because I don't want to start a question and answers. But it could be entitlement. It could be emotions. It could be immaturity. It could be the type of people that you bring around you. Prophets and prophetic people a lot of times bring broken people around them because they're trying to fix them, because that's your creativity coming into play. But you can't fix people. A lot of times you'll go after people who are broken because you're trying to prove to yourself in the world that you're not prideful. So you just like, I'm gonna get the rejected. I'm gonna go get the people that the world just cast out. And I used to do that all the time. And while I still reach for the rejected, I learned you gotta mentor them. Don't befriend them. You gotta mentor them, because that's my all my friends. They would just, and boy, you talk about drama, trauma. I was like, Jesus, can I? Come on, I can't even miss a phone call without having drama. I can't have a phone call without missing drama. All right. I pray you guys were blessed by this. Make sure you go and watch that video. Make sure you watch that video. I love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye. Hold up. I had to show y'all. He knows when I say that. Where you at? Hey, baby. You already know. Hey. See, I know when my mama's going off here. I know her closing statements. Hey, baby. You're handsome. You know that. All right. Say bye bye. Say bye. Okay. All right. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.